Indiana Jones graced cinemas across the globe in 1981, with further releases cementing the stories and, most importantly, Indiana Jones as a legacy character. The spin-off TV shows, comic books and video games have gone a long way to shape the world of Indiana Jones. Though many would argue his greatest outing were his earliest, but in 2023 the final swan song of the beloved character appeared on the big screen. One of the big takeaways, besides seeing Harrison Ford donning the classic fedora, was his performance digitally de-aged. It was this uncanny, transcendent experience that was initially cool, but like the execution, it just wasn't perfect. The following year, a reincarnation, a Harrison Ford likeness, blended with the seasoned veteran of video games Troy Baker. Playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle embodies Indy, but you're almost extending out to playing Indiana Jones as the original cinema icon in the 1980s. The Great Circle is a full circle moment, in the sense that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny were either box office flops or critically underwhelming. The Great Circle has been a major success and maybe bled new light into this franchise that the films couldn't. Hi, I'm Obsessing Again. I'm not here to review, I'm here to deep dive. You name it, I've probably got an opinion on it. Arguably, the success of this game comes from nostalgia. We as fans have never experienced an entity so polished in this universe, and with graphic fidelity and a portrayal of Indy that is close to Harrison Ford, it's hard not to be gleeful. I don't think this game acts as a barrier for people unaware of the film franchise, but for those who are aware, it deeply resonates. The game's opening, being the original prologue to Raiders of the Lost Ark, is a wink directly to players. It's gently introducing us, familiarising us again with the character. The scene is so iconic that you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't know it. I think it also acts as a testament to the team for how realistic it replicates those original moments. Harrison Ford is so distinctive, and what he brought to the character was an inquisitive, intellectual adventurer who lauded historical artefacts with all the respect he could muster. But that's not why millions of children and adults were glued to his prowess. It's his courageousness. He's not swashbuckling like a Luke Skywalker. He thinks on his feet. He will go pound for pound regardless of the opponent's size. Sometimes winning, sometimes being thrown like a rag doll. The Great Circle pays homage to an 80s star. The resourcefulness of using anything and everything as a weapon is the antithesis of what makes courageous heroes and heroines are in today's media. He's admirable for how he thinks on his feet.
Back away! Down you go, pal.
Perhaps unknown to most gamers, but the original score has that John Williams sounding flair, and yet it's not all John Williams. The hero's adventure, the romance and the unknown, the triumphant highs and the bellowing lows of mystique. John Williams has undoubtedly defined cinema for his scores. Gordy Harb has an interesting relationship. He has echoed the scores of John Williams linked entities like Star Wars, with scores for Battlefront, Jedi Survivor and others. And yet for Gordy, his first video game score was Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings. For the Great Circle, his scores are an outpour of that sound.
The Great Circle. You have any idea how old that was?
When you watch the film from the 1980s, you can tell whether John Williams has put music to it. A classic cinema sound. Throughout my experience of this game, it strays so closely, sonically, in what would be a Spielberg film, a testament to Gordy. Roaming all these expansive maps, finding recipes, interacting with characters and taking photos, I would liken to an Anthony Bourdain TV series. Unintentionally, it acts as a tourism simulator set in the 1930s. You see through the lens of the camera what it would be like to be at the Vatican. For Dr. Jones, it's not his first outing, but you naturally become more inquisitive about the environment because it's unlike most games. Call of Duty may recreate historical moments near this time zone, but they are corridor shootouts. There isn't a time or a place to take in the atmosphere. The varying environments make each travel spot unique. Sand, cobble, snow, water, there is enough variety. and given the amount of time you get to explore each environment, you feel like a seasoned traveller. When you first arrive at each location, it's visually vibrant and dense. The first person is at its best when exploring. You're able to take in the scenery. A game like Assassin's Creed with tremendous, smooth traversal over medieval towns is great, but can play out like a power fantasy and sometimes glosses over its own prowess. As a famous archaeologist, you're here to study, to wonder about the famous relics.
Wait. You are not a priest.
What makes this franchise so compelling is how rooted it is in history. With Tomb Raider or Uncharted, its operations and mercenaries are sent to complete discoveries from the highest bidder, all set in modern times. Because of the historical backdrop of the original films being set before the Second World War, you're tiptoeing around monumental moments in history with a sprinkling of pulpiness to make it exciting adventures rather than just historical retellings.
You'll never understand! Devotion. Total and absolute devotion to the fatherland.
To sustain consistent action shootouts can be done, but that's not indie. If you examine his kills across the 5 films, he would be a mass murderer. That's if we're not romanticising him, the films, and examining for what it is. But the argument can be made that he doesn't want to go around and kill in most cases. It's an act of self-defence. And what's the most compelling adversary to kill? Nazis. In recent times, culturally, we have this weird discomfort to represent Nazis. We were fine with Nazi zombies on Call of Duty, and then we began to represent them, their ideologies, their heinous acts, armoury, just without the emblem. It's a weirdly satisfying return to the worst evil, a group you can calmly dispose of with no guilt. As the game is set in 1937, it acts as a precursor to the eventual rise of the group. That tenseness of their presence makes an open, expansive area that little more disconcerting. As I mentioned earlier, the historical setting makes it all the while compelling. And Emmerich Voss is arguably one of the greatest video game villains we've ever had, and better yet, the best villain in the franchise. I think a lot of people have become disenfranchised with every villain requiring a saddened backstory to make you feel empathetic, but not Voss. He's intelligent, maniacal, and cruel, but loving the chase. His anger, the seething rage, feeling spat on every time he raises his voice. Like all great villains, they mirror their rivals. Same desires with different means.
Geben Sie mir, was ich will, oder Sie werden zum Ausgestoßenen. Ein Schandfleck auf dem Antlitz der Kirche. Haben Sie das verstanden, Tante?
Where I find Indy at his best as a character is when he fails. He's sharp, athletic, charming, and an all-round good fighter, but not great. He's not a power fantasy by any means, and his stories are always in the vein of David vs Goliath. He can't directly fight his way through the Nazis, so disguising or sneaking around bases is when you're on the edge of your seat. Watching it in the films is nerve-wracking, but having to sneak and find the right outfits is fun. Not only does it provide more access around the maps, but if you get caught, somehow that's even better. Running from the skin of your teeth with a blazing whistle in the distance is probably truer to the character than anything else.
Guten Tag, Soldat. Wollen wir diesen...
Diesen Soldaten kenne ich nicht.
This adventure has brought new light into Indiana Jones in a way that even the renowned LEGO game couldn't. Swashbuckling action, frenetic punch-outs, carefully manoeuvring and layered world design make this outing an incredibly noted one. It's a return to form, and in keeping with the standalone adventure, with the gentle fedora nods to the franchise. With the uncanny valley appearance of young Indy in the Dial of Destiny, the Great Circle has made a great leap in technological advancement, indicating Dr. Jones can live on beyond the silver screen.
Don't you want to know what this is all about?
You're damn right I do.
Thank you for letting me obsess again.